Hey, thanks for joining us. Welcome to Dollars and Cents. I'm your host, Heather Sullivan. Well, pull up a seat with me because this is the spot where you're going to learn some really easy ways to cut your costs and save a lot of money. We have the best consumer reporting from Fox stations across the country. I've been curating it for you, and we're going to help you beat inflation and empower you financially. Today, some millennials and Gen Zers are dumping their wealthy friends because they're driving them into debt. But you don't have to give up your pals. We're going to show you ways to handle those spendy invitations. When you buy a new car, you think it's in mint condition, right? Yeah, not so fast. Why you still want to check the vehicle history report before you buy. Is your cell phone starting to age and slow down? Mine sure is. Did you know that it's designed to do that so that you'll buy a new one? We're going to show you how long you can really keep it before it dies for good. And we have rounded up some really scary and elaborate scams that you need to know about. We're going to show you a big ticket bluff that cost a woman her life savings, and it's so convincing it shocked even me. But first, let's begin with a talker. Have you bowed out of an invitation because of the price tag? Or have you maybe avoided someone who's always wanting to go out and spend a lot of money? Well, Gen Z and millennials are breaking up with some of their wealthier friends, according to a new survey from Credit Karma. More than a third say they have a friend who often leads them to overspend. The vast majority says that spending time with that friend has actually put them into debt. So now more young people are ending those friendships to save money, and people are sounding off about it on social media.
Yo. Jessica just broke up with me. Do you want to go to Italy with me right now? Bro, I'm so sorry, but I have work at 5. And that's like a for sure thing. I mean, it's my job. It's how I pay rent.
Social media is also a big source of the problem. People see their friends' lifestyles and then they try to keep up. And Credit Karma respondents say the high bills are for dining out, clothes, drinks and nights out, vacations, and massages and manicures. And it's not a new problem. A 2018 paper from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia found that neighbors of lottery winners were more likely to go bankrupt after they saw their neighbors rise in affluence. But you don't have to cut off your friends. So we've got some tools to help you out in these situations. First, just learn to say no thank you, or just say you're busy. Here's a biggie. You can try to just be honest about it, but if you're not comfortable with that, you can also say, you know what, I'm saving up for something like a car or a house. Or you can also suggest something lower cost that you can do together. The bottom line is it should never be embarrassing to show that you're smart about your money, and a true friend will understand. Now here's something else that's going to have you talking. This is why it pays to read between the lines. What's on sale isn't always on sale. Watch this. An Australian woman was in the baked goods aisle and she noticed the pastries priced at a special rate, $4.50, claiming that customers will save 25 cents. But watch this. She pulls back the sticker to find the original price was actually cheaper at $4.25. That is just plain wrong. And with grocery prices up, we have been showing you that you can save a lot of money buying generic or store brand products rather than name brand. But it turns out that many Americans aren't willing to give up some of their favorite brands. According to a Consumer Food Insights report from Purdue University, consumers prefer to splurge on brand name soft drinks, and they'll even pay 30% more for them. But y'all are less picky about brand names when it comes to buying fresh produce and meat. Store brands are generally about 40% less than brand names, and sometimes it's actually the same product made by the same manufacturer in that packaging. So you do want to give those store brands a second look, but I got you, I understand. Sometimes you have preferences. Well, here's one more thing that was a surprise. You can buy a new car and you expect to know everything about it, from door dings to scratches. You expect it to be in mint condition, right? But as Fox 35 in Orlando reports, you can buy a new car that's been damaged without even knowing it.
This is Thomas Ward's 2023 Chevy Silverado.
Dream truck, excited to get it, love having it. It's a great truck.
He bought it new with only 20 miles on it for $53,000 in April. While shopping around for insurance this week, Ward learned his truck had been in an accident before the purchase. That was news to him.
Total shock, anger. This is the most expensive purchase I've ever made other than a home. So to have the realization that I have an accident on a brand new vehicle that I was sold, that's awful.
Ward bought the truck from Seminole Chevrolet in Sanford. He says the dealership never told him about the blemish and didn't even offer any discounts. Ward estimates the accident knocks off about $5,000 off the truck's value right now.
This becomes a haggling point. This becomes a way for anybody I deal with to beat me down on price. So I will never get the same value as a new truck would have gotten.
The dealership admitted to Ward via text the truck suffered minor damage in transport. The manager told him it wasn't any severe damage. The transporter didn't tie down the truck securely to his truck, and it moved into another vehicle.
What do those texts mean to you?
They admitted that they typically discount vehicles that this would happen to, and you'd sign a waiver of acknowledgement, yet that didn't happen for me.
Seminole Chevrolet declined our request for an interview. It turns out Florida law says dealerships don't have to disclose damage to new cars unless the dealer's actual cost of repairs exceeds the threshold amount. Holly Sammons leads the Central Florida branch of the Better Business Bureau. She says Ward's experience is an expensive lesson.
Asking for that history report, asking for a Carfax detail, and if a dealer makes you feel silly for asking for that, then maybe that's a red flag, right?
Well, as much as we depend on our smartphones, there will be a day that they will die and we have to get new ones. I try to get as many years out of mine as I can. Well, Fox 26 business reporter Tom Ziska says mobile devices are actually designed to die so that we'll buy a new one. But there's a new tool that can help you plan for how long you can expect to use your phone.
Mobile devices are obviously huge business. The industry says almost 92% of Americans use one, generating $102 billion in revenue each year, which is a lot of money for something that will not last.
And that's what's happening to this guy, but like I say, it's probably 10 generations ago.
So we keep it about 2 or 3 years. We don't go every year, but 2 or 3 years and then we trade it out.
Not that bad. Just transferring all the information. It takes a minute, but it's easier now than before.
The obvious answer is that it's a way to sell a new phone.
Houston tech expert Beth Guide says mobile devices are designed and planned to ultimately fail. And there are real-world reasons why. Smartphones are built of components that have limitations, like batteries, chips, and sensors that degrade with time and physical stress. So how long will yours last? If you can decipher manufacturer codes and fine print, they'll tell you. But a new website offers the work for free to determine the end of life for your device or operating system. Endoflife.date tracks 268 products, outlining how long each is expected to last and when support will end. Beth Guide says there's really a purpose to pull the plug and move on. Modern security may not work on outdated devices.
There is a reason to actually get rid of those phones because they're security hazards. If you're actually using it, there's a problem.
The average lifespan for a smartphone is about 2.5 years. iPhones can last up to 8, Samsung 6, a Google Pixel maybe 5. Either way, it's important to note and know that that internal clock starts ticking when the device is made, not when you buy it, so your years of use may be shorter than you expect. As for my own personal phone, the website says it'll die January 29th, 2026. So apparently we've still got a couple of good years together. If you'd like to check your device, I have a link on my Facebook page. Watching Your Money, I'm Tom Ziska, Fox 26 News.
Okay, my phone is 6 years old, but it still works, so I'm going to keep using it. Well, Apple is backing President Joe Biden's new right to repair bill. The tech giant says that it'll give customers access to its tools and iPhone parts instead of requiring you to bring broken devices to an Apple store. President Biden's bill is focused on increasing competition and working to eliminate added fees for customers. And T-Mobile is reversing plans to charge some customers more. This is good news. It recently planned a test program that would have forced some customers into more expensive wireless plans. The newer tiers would generally cost $5 to $10 more per line unless customers opted out by contacting the company. But there was a flood of customer feedback, and it prompted the company to hold off on the plan. That's why it always pays to be vocal. Now, we have a consumer alert to pass along for you. If you are moving soon and you need to change your mailing address, you now must verify your identity first. USPS says you can initiate the address change online by visiting a post office or by submitting it by mail. But the agency will then email you a QR code, and you need to take your driver's license or another ID and that QR code to a local post office in person to change your address. The change won't be validated until you do. The new process is designed to cut down on fraudulent addresses and changes. And Generation Z is embracing a trend that is known as soft saving. It means that they are stocking away less money for the future to spend more in the present. Not the best idea. Analysts say younger investors spend more on hobbies and travel than Gen Xers and baby boomers. Also, 2 out of 3 Gen Zers are not sure if they will ever have enough money to retire. But this fear may not be that much of a concern for the younger generation, because most say that they're not actually looking to retire early, and some say they don't want to retire at all. But, well, you've been working for about 30 years, and then tell us how you feel. Now, on the flip side of this soft saving, since mortgage rates have hit their highest levels in 20 years, a new trend has started. More young adults are moving back in with their parents to save up money to buy a home of their own. And Fox's Greg Payne spoke with one about what it takes these days to buy into the American dream.
And that's where you originally from, Kate?
No, I'm originally from Connecticut.
Okay.
5 days a week, you can find Damon Pace cutting hair at his shop, a professional Pace barbershop in Glassboro, New Jersey.
I've been in a barbershop for 14 years, but I've been cutting hair for about 20 years.
On top of that daily grind, Pace was trying to purchase a property.
I don't have your traditional W-2s, so it has to go off my taxes, and I needed a payment plan letter from the IRS to purchase my property.
Then COVID hit, and Pace had to wait for the IRS to open back up. Months later, he says the market was completely different.
Now in the market, everybody's overbidding 20, 30,000, over asking.
But what made that possible was being able to save his earnings from cutting hair, thanks to his family who let him move back home for 3 years.
But I wouldn't have been able to save up the money that I needed as fast as I needed without being in my mom's house.
Which that money-saving move is what brokers and realtors say is a growing trend they see every day. Just ask Lisa Risco, who is an associate broker at Keller Williams Mainline in Ardmore.
The lack of affordability is what I consider the crazy part. Just because, you know, people go to college, they get out of school, they want to buy that first home, and then, wow, here we are.
A recent survey from Realtor.com and SensusWide shows of those planning to purchase a home within the next 12 months, more than half are potentially looking to their parents for help. Nearly 1/3 say they moved into their parents' home already to save, and another quarter say they would consider doing so.
I see that as a trend. I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
Amy Fasano Crowder is the VP of Sales at Fasano Family of Associates in Media, and she also teaches a class with home buyers. She preaches for those doing it to stay focused.
Just make sure when you're home, you're doing what you were there to do and saving the money.
It's about discipline. Like, you gotta be disciplined in order to do whatever it is that you want to do, and that's with anything in life.
Now, we did ask officials if they believe the rates are going to go down. They say that it fluctuates up and down all the time, but they say the days of those 3% is long gone. Reporting here in Glassboro, I'm Greg Payne, Fox 29 News.
Yes, they are. But here's one way to save money on a house. Have you ever thought about buying a haunted house? Well, you're not alone. This may be surprising, but over half of Americans say they are willing to buy a well-known haunted house to save money. Yeah, nearly 30% of Americans already believe their own home is haunted. Well, maybe it's just your kids. But while only 30% of sellers say they would willingly disclose to potential buyers that a house was haunted, more than 2/3 of Americans believe the government should mandate that information should be disclosed. That's going to be tricky. All right, if a good ghost story doesn't leave you shaking in your boots, this next story will. It is an elaborate scam, and I want you to know about it. A complex, very convincing scam drained a Wisconsin woman of her entire life savings. The scammers falsified government documents, badges, bank deposit records, all to earn her trust. Fox's Jenna Sachs has the very scary story.
I have been very diligent in saving my money and very responsible.
Caitlin Hensey has taken steps to grow her finances since she was a kid.
It was what I was saving for my future to kind of live some of the dreams that I've had.
But after some missteps, Caitlin lost her entire savings, her 401k and investments, a total of $200,000.
So it was literally everything that I have saved since I started working as a babysitter at age 12.
Caitlin fell victim to an elaborate scam. It started with a call.
The phone number on the call said Wells Fargo fraud.
The caller said Caitlin's identity was stolen.
I checked my bank account statement. There were some weird transactions that I didn't recognize.
She then spoke with a Federal Trade Commission officer, or so he said, and he had loads of Caitlin's personal information.
They gave me copies of the ID badge and everything really checked out.
Caitlin spoke and texted with the scammers for more than a month.
Very articulate, very intelligent.
They told Caitlin to make wire transfers, buy Bitcoin and gift cards. They said it was to secure her money and elude the identity thieves. Caitlin was told to shut down every account in her name, including the one at Wells Fargo, in order to open a new, more secure bank account under a new Social Security number.
Every time I posed a skeptical question, they had a realistic answer for it. They sent me certified letters in the mail that were signed by like the head cryptocurrency attorney.
Obviously this is a big ticket scam, so the scammers are going to put more time and more effort into it.
The Better Business Bureau says if you get an unsolicited call from a bank, stop the conversation and verify.
If they say it's an account you have, go back to an account statement, call the customer service number on that.
What we've seen in the last 18 months has been much more aggressive.
In a pre-taped video statement sent to Contact 6, Wells Fargo says of the calls, don't trust caller ID, don't share personal information, and don't be pressured or rushed.
You know, walk away, right? Give it 24 to 48 hours, think through it, lean on a support system, and then do some research.
I had no idea that scammers could be this elaborate.
Once Caitlin realized she'd been taken, it took her months to agree to this interview. She decided it's a step in the right direction.
Because of how much trauma I went through, I want to prevent other people from going through that.
I'm Jenna Sachs, Contact 6.
Yeah, very scary. And while we're on the topic of schemes, here's another nightmare. Patients who have had plastic surgery are discovering their nude photos and medical information have been exposed by cyber criminals. The FBI just issued a warning that hackers are targeting plastic surgery centers and their patients, trying to extort millions of dollars. Imagine having plastic surgery to later learn your nude photos or medical information has been exposed by cyber criminals. Cybersecurity expert Chris Nottingham says it's a scary reality.
The attackers are using those images and basically threatening the release of them to the patient's social network, those sort of things, friends, relatives.
The HIPAA Journal reports hackers attacked the office of Beverly Hills plastic surgeon Gary Modeke and posted patient photos on the web, demanding ransom payments to take them down. The FBI just issued an alert that hackers are targeting plastic surgery offices and their often affluent patients.
Typically, the types of services that are being provided aren't things that are covered by insurance. Patients typically have more disposable income than your average person.
The American Society of Plastic Surgery reports that hackers send phishing emails posing as board staff members, then deploy malware to harvest patient records. The FBI says they cross-reference them to patients' social media pages to learn more, then threaten to expose the images or medical information to their friends, family, or coworkers.
A lot of times, patients, when they're getting plastic surgery, it's not something that they want to broadcast to the world.
Nottingham says plastic surgery centers need to ensure that they have security systems in place and trained employees not to fall for phishing schemes. He says patients should ask healthcare providers how they protect their information and limit what they post about themselves online.
To make sure that you've got your privacy settings set in such a way that what you are sharing is only going to the groups and individuals that you would like it to be shared with.
Absolutely. And the FBI also recommends using unique passwords or a password manager and two-factor authentication on all of your digital accounts. And if you are already a victim of any cyber attack, you can report it to the FBI at ic3.gov. Now, RoboKiller is reporting that Americans are expected to lose $90 billion this year to scam robocalls. That's those automatic dialers that call you. They pretend to be from the IRS or inquiring about your car warranty. I know you've gotten those calls. Well, Fox's Mark Meredith reports that witnesses from the Chamber of Commerce, the National Consumer Law Center, and robocall blocking companies all testified before Congress that the Department of Justice needs to do more to crack down.
Hello, this is Audrey, and I'm a Social Security Disability Advisor.
The calls can sound convincing, but of the nearly 4.3 billion robocalls received by U.S. consumers last month, many are fake, unwanted, and illegal.
I probably get at least like 8 a day.
This is an issue that I'm confident everyone in the room has dealt with.
The issue of robocalls and how to combat the billions of domestic telemarketing calls placed to Americans each month is now being reviewed by Congress.
Robocalls have eroded trust in our nation's communications networks.
In a Senate hearing aimed at protecting Americans, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle voiced concerns that current legislation designed to safeguard consumers from illegal communications aren't working, as robocallers are evading enforcement and continuing to call.
To eliminate these calls, there must be incentives for compliance.
Meantime, the FCC, with a plan of its own, is proposing using artificial intelligence and machine learning to detect fraud.
We think that what needs to be done is the FCC should adopt a quick-acting, temporary restraining order type of methodology.
Now, the government says if you believe you have received an illegal call or text, or if you think you're the victim of a spoofing scam, to file a complaint with the FCC. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
All right, it is that time of year now to test your smoke alarms and replace the batteries. And the Houston Fire Department estimates 30% of homes in this area don't have smoke detectors or they're not working properly. And we know that can have deadly consequences. So if you don't have a smoke alarm in your home, some local fire departments are ready to give free ones to homes in need. Take a look. It happens too often. Lives lost in fires. In homes without working smoke alarms that can give people those precious minutes to get out in time.
Certainly has been fatalities where smoke detectors could have alerted residents earlier.
The National Fire Protection Association says there are 20,000 structure fires in Texas each year and 50 deaths. 2/3 of them are in homes with no working smoke alarm.
There are a number of residences that aren't protected adequately.
Through its Out to Alarm Texas program, the Insurance Council of Texas is using a grant from State Farm to donate smoke alarms to fire departments in 30 cities, including the Atascocita Fire Department.
Allows us to get into homes where people may not have the resources to replace their smoke detectors. We're getting out there, we're putting them in, we're installing them, replacing batteries where needed.
It's an honor to be out here and be asked to be part of this because this is our community. And we take a lot of pride in that.
Experts say smoke alarms should be placed on every floor of a home, in each bedroom, main living areas, and near the kitchen. Smoke alarms should be replaced every 10 years. Batteries should be replaced and tested twice a year. The city of Houston, through its Get Alarmed Houston program, now gives out smoke alarms with 10-year lithium batteries. No matter what type you have, now is the time to check them.
Don't ignore not having a smoke detector or ignore not having batteries that have gone bad. Call us out there. We will go out there and we will help you out.
Yeah, don't let it go by. Now, as I mentioned, the Insurance Council of Texas and State Farm donate smoke alarms to 30 Texas cities. So you'll find the link to that list of cities and ways to contact the Atascocita and Houston fire departments about getting a smoke alarm and batteries. That's all in Sullivan's Smart Sense on Fox26Houston.com. And also the Red Cross, they have a program where they give smoke alarms to homes that don't have one either. Again, just go to Fox26Houston.com. And finally, dozens of states are now suing Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram. They are accusing it of fueling a mental health crisis among our youth by making their social media platforms addictive. Now, Meta responded to the lawsuit saying that it's disappointed the states decided to sue rather than work with the company to establish safer social media standards for young people. Political editor Craig Patrick at Fox 13 in Tampa does a really insightful deep dive into the impact of social media on its users.
Doctors say slot machines can be addictive because they exploit dopamine reactions or our brain's reward systems to the point that we just keep pushing buttons and watching the scroll of objects often much longer than people intended as they lose money and lose time and in some cases compromise their health. Well, pushing buttons and watching an endless scroll of images. Ever notice how the social media sites like Facebook and Instagram also have us pushing buttons and scrolling through images and often much longer than many people may have intended? Well, attorneys general in Florida and more than 40 other states say that's no accident.
We know Meta has internal documents that include studies and reports discussing the harmful effects of Meta's product.
The more time people spend scrolling, watching, and posting, the more money the sites make, and the more it could cost a lot of the users doing the scrolling. It can make people feel anxious if they don't get enough likes, or depressed if they get bullied, and enraged when they see stuff that makes them angry, which drives them to post and push buttons, which further reveals what kind of stuff pushes their buttons and drives them to more action. And then the algorithms and the advertisers flood them with much more of that kind of stuff to keep them worked up in an ongoing cycle that often fuels misinformation and anger, among other things. And we, of course, can see how that's infecting our culture and our politics as false information takes hold, and a lot of people have trouble distinguishing fact from belief, which of course could be fueling movements against science and academia, nuance and public debate. But the attorneys general claim Facebook and Instagram are particularly harmful to children and teens for these and other reasons.
I would go on my phone intending to do other things and then instinctively start opening up Instagram, opening up different social media platforms without even meaning to.
Inevitably, I joined the most popular social media platform as a means of trying to fit in, and I got sucked into the algorithm.
It's no surprise to parents that children cannot stay off their phones, and this has been shown to be very addictive to children across the United States. It's caused mental health problems, sleep problems.
And they claim Facebook and Instagram's parent company Meta is exploiting kids with tools and techniques to knowingly addict them and harm their mental health.
Features like infinite scroll and near constant alerts were created with the express goal of hooking young users, continually luring them back online and causing long-term psychological harm.
The company knew exactly how these design decisions could and would hook young people to the point of addiction, and yet continued to use them.
And they say it can hook users to the point of addiction, not just around silly videos, but stuff that fuels mental health issues and concerns about body image, especially among teens.
The filters that will improve your shape because you don't look that good, and giving this kind of a mental and depression about it. Adding to this one, the likes. Nobody likes me, I don't have that many likes, what's going on? So they are playing into the emotional part of the kids.
Now, part of this goes back to revelations from former Facebook manager Frances Haugen. She shared internal company documents which appear to show the company knew that its algorithms push content that cause body image and mental health issues to devastating results.
We've seen escalating rates of suicide and depression amongst teenagers.
And she said the company repeatedly misled the public about what its own research reveals about the safety of children.
Facebook's own reports say it is not just that Instagram is dangerous for teenagers. It is actually more dangerous than other forms of social media.
Now, that may be up for debate given the growing concerns in Congress about one of Facebook's competitors, TikTok.
Your technology is literally leading to death.
Researchers at the nonprofit Center for Countering Digital Hate opened TikTok accounts posing as 13-year-olds. And their report states they pause briefly on videos about body image and mental health and like them. And then within 2.6 minutes, TikTok algorithms recommended suicide content. Within 8 minutes, content related to eating disorders. And every 39 seconds, it recommended videos about body image and mental health to teens.
TikTok could be designed to minimize the harm to kids, but a decision was made to aggressively addict kids in the name of profits.
So Meta's not alone in drawing challenge from our governments, especially when it comes to kids.
I think the reason why parents need to be concerned about young people spending a lot of time on screens is really about the idea that their brains aren't fully developed yet.
And that brings us back to Meta and other social media giants that are making the greatest profits in the history of the world, and the coming battles in court and in our nation's halls of power that all come down to money, power, and politics.
And that's our show for this week. You'll find more ways to save always on Sullivan Smart Sense on Fox26Houston.com.